Hello, everyone. I see there's tons of participants starting to stream in. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our final session of BigBlueButtonWorld 2021. My name is Jess Greenberg. I'm one of the moderators and organizers of this conference, and I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who made this event possible and all of the participants for joining us throughout the past 4 days and just being awesome contributors to the Big Blue Button community. So in this final time slot, we will have two presenters. We're going to start off with Felipe Secoño, and he will be followed by Tiago Jacobs. Felipe is the CEO of Encomp and will be presenting on Big Blue Button and open source online learning. Thank you for joining us, Felipe.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very happy to be here to speak to you today. I want to thank you for the opportunity and also to congratulate the organization of the event. It has been great so far. We are looking forward to have a next one. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the 10 years of collaboration between Encomp and BigBlueButton, and I will go through a few moments in this history and how did we get here. So I'm the CEO at Encomp. I'm a core committer of the BigBlueButton project since 2011. So we started back in 2010 as a research group in Brazil. I'm speaking from Porto Alegre, Brazil, by the way. So we started as a research group in a university, and we had one main goal of designing a web conferencing service for public research and education institutions in Brazil. The project was funded by the Brazilian NREN, RNP, and the NREN is responsible for providing connectivity and services for all the Brazilian public universities and research institutes. So we had this main goal, and when we started looking at the options we had back in the day, we found BigBlueButton as an open source project, and basically it had most of the requirements that we wanted. We looked for other options as well, but BigBlueButton was the best option at that moment. So this is BigBlueButton back in 2011. It was a Flash client. It had the presentation, it had the chat, the participants, the videos. This is the first implementation of the layout manager that we did back in the day. But why did we choose BigBlueButton? So it had a lot of features that we wanted for our project. It was open source, so it was possible to extend the project for what we needed. It had a very good documentation on how to use it, on how to build it, and it had a very active community. And in 2011, BigBlueButton had only 2.5 years. So it was in the very early stages of the project, but it was already something that worked very well. And looking at the current state and the current open source projects for web conferencing on the educational market, probably all these 4 items are still true, and we would probably choose BigBlueButton again nowadays. And we had some initial requirements. We wanted to build a mobile client. We wanted better organized videos through a video doc. We wanted share notes, layout manager, and we needed some other stuff which was outside BigBlueButton, such as web portal. Greenlight didn't exist back in the day, and we needed to be scalable. This is a few images of BBB Android. It was a mobile client, a native client for Android, and it had all the core functionality. It was possible to interact with the Flash client and so on. It was very interesting times. And video conferencing on mobile was not something very popular as it is today. So that was our first contribution to the project. It was licensed as open source. Many people built upon it, and I believe that was the moment that we start collaborating in a daily basis with the core developers of BigBlueButton. But why did we contribute back to the open source? Because we could just take the code and implement what we needed. I think that the first reason is that because we like open source and we like to contribute. All the people involved in the project back in the day was very interested in open source, and it is still is the case today. But we also wanted to move faster and with higher quality, and we had a very reduced team. So it was a chance to collaborate and to speed up development. We wanted to work with smart people across the globe, and it was a perfect opportunity. And also, more important than that, we want to impact more people with our work and add more value to the world. And I'm very glad with this item here because due to the pandemic, BigBlueButton has been used by a lot of people, and we saw the contributions we gave to the project being used heavily by a lot of people in the world. And Encomp has been involved with the BigBlueButton Foundation since the beginning as well. And I will take just a moment to mention that early today, Stephen Mugi talked about the foundation, and I'd like to invite all of you individuals and organizations to join the foundation. It's a great way to contribute to the project. So just to highlight a few of the contributions we had along the way. So we built API Mate, which is very known by all developers for BigBlueButton. It generates all the URLs to interact with the API. We developed more recently BBB Playback, which is the new format of recordings playback on BigBlueButton 2.3. It loads faster and it has a better layout and also better compatibility with mobile. And also it's more easier to extend and to maintain. We built BigBlueBot, which is a way to connect fake users for load testing purposes. So these fake users can connect to a room, share audio, share video, and then we can observe what happens to the server during the test. And also video features like the pagination, the dynamic profiling. These are the things that we have been we saw with our users that sometimes they were struggling in some situations, and a few modifications on the video part made all the difference. And we have been able to improve a lot the video experience on 2.2, which was very important for the huge growth in usage due to the pandemic. And also the new media architecture, which is work in progress. Paulo presented yesterday. I recommend everyone to take a look if you didn't see. It was very nice to see how the project will evolve in terms of the media architecture. And more core development. So we work as part of the core developers team. We are responsible for some specific areas of the product, but we also help building new features, fixing bugs, and so on. Just to take a moment to remember our first BigBlueButton Developer Summit. It was just 4 people, myself included, back in 2012 in Ottawa, Canada. I think, Fred, we don't look much older today, but it's very nice to remember when the history of the developer summits started. It was very, very nice. And we had 14 editions so far. I don't know, somebody told me that it was 15 editions, but I think it was 14, and 6 of them we had the pleasure to host here in Porto Alegre with a lot of developers coming from abroad. And the last summit was in 2019, and we had over 25 developers involved. So it has become a huge event. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of there is a lot of discussions and hacking into the project. It's very nice, and I'm really looking forward to the next one after the pandemic. Since we founded Encomp, we have been very active doing video conferencing related projects, mostly in the educational market, but also exploring some other markets. I just want to mention a few of them. So we did a project for medical training. It used IP cameras, and it was all web. And the most important part of this project was that we learned a lot, and we built the knowledge to create the first video implementation for the HTML5 client. If you guys remember the early days of the HTML5 client, video was the missing part. We had the client, we had the audio, the whiteboard, but the video was still to be developed. And then we have been able to understand how to create the first implementation, and we have been evolving since then. We also implement a court hearing system. It was used for recording with remote participants by web and phone. We had post-processing recording transcriptions using a third-party service. We had transcription editing, and also deep integration with digital justice system. It was a very interesting project in a different market outside of the educational market. And also remembering the first slide of my presentation, when we started developing a web conferencing solution for the Brazilian NRAN. It's currently being massively used in Brazil. They saw growth over 1,000% due to the pandemic. It's now being used by more than 200 public research and educational institutions in Brazil. And it's also integrated to other services such as the traditional video conference service and EduPlay, which is kind of the YouTube for the education market. And after all, we learned a lot during this time. We have now 10 years with experience building on top of BigBlueButton, and based on all this knowledge, we launched 3 years ago Aloes, which is built for the education market. It has a portal for personal rooms, but it's also integrated through LTI and API and all the BigBlueButton integrations. We have developed a lot of monitoring, load balancing tools, analytics. We have scalable recording processing. We have a solution to connect SIP with video, not just audio through FreeSwitch. We have a live streaming capability also with questions, so we can have sessions with a lot of people connected, interacting through questions, but considering the limits in terms of participants on BigBlueButton. So this way we can extend the limits. We have a stopwatch timer collaboration through Google Drive. So in summary, we have been very active in the BigBlueButton community, contributing to the open source, and we also created a service with a lot of value added for the education community. And this is my team. We are mostly located in Porto Alegre, Brazil. Some of us are remote. All of us are remote due to the pandemic, but most live in Porto Alegre. And I want to thank you again for listening. I will be glad to answer any questions if you have. And also thanks for the opportunity again.
Felipe, thank you for sharing that. Such good memories. So just on a personal note, I have known Felipe for 12 years now, probably more. And Encomp has been an invaluable contributor. And I think the story you tell shows how commercial companies can benefit and grow faster by both contributing to open source projects and building on top of open source projects. And if you've been reading the developer forums over the years, it's really important that companies in the BigBlueButton ecosystem are able to build sustainable business models that enable them to grow, as Encomp has done. And with that growth, more contributions come back. So when, Felipe, if you could put the previous slide on Aloes, like these features are value added that Encomp has provided. So it takes nothing away from the open source of BigBlueButton. Many companies have provided their own value add around the project. I want to point out that many of the value adds that Felipe has built out, his team has built out over the years, have found their way back into BigBlueButton without any requirement or any asking. So if you go back to the next slide, the last one, looks like some of these people are really young. So I am really looking forward to seeing the Encomp team continue to grow, continue to create value-added products which let them generate revenue. And they've been such a great contributor back to the project. I can't say enough good things. That the project, I do not think would be where it is today without Encomp, and there's Tiago's, his company coming up next, really contributing back in a big way to open source and getting behind the BigBlueButton project to make sure it's successful.
Thank you very much, Fred. And I want to just tell a bit on how the BigBlueButton community has been welcoming to us at the beginning when we didn't know that we could contribute back something. And it has been a great experience for us so far. Everything improved a lot in the process, but I want to mention that for other organizations that still do not contribute back to the project, that just to tell that the BigBlueButton project is very welcoming others to contribute, to discuss ideas, to review code, to suggest new ways to look at a problem. So it's a very welcoming and friendly environment. And I saw that Mark put a question on the chat. Are all the features you have embedded in Aloes open source? No. The answer to this is no, Mark. Today we have a bunch of value-added features which are not on the open source, but as Fred said, most of them eventually get integrated back into the core. So we don't let the community re-implement or reinvent the wheel. So if there is a big interest in some item, and the desire for the community to develop, usually what we do is to just open source and contribute back to the project. It has been this way with a lot of what you see today on BigBlueButton, such as the share notes, the network activity indicator, and many other things.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. For the live streaming, I can't recall, Fred. Did Gazi spoke about the?
He was unable to make his presentation, but I think you're going to see more about his work on sprout bees, and I think which is already being used. So definitely want to provide Gazi some way to make it more visible to the community what he's doing, with the intent of making it available to the community. So he wasn't able to present, but I think the question to go back to, like Mark, companies, it would not be uncommon to see companies build out the needed features for BigBlueButton in their ecosystem or in their commercial offerings. And at some point, 2 or 3 companies may do something similar. And then at some point, this comes back into the core in a way that benefits everybody. So I think there's a couple solutions out there for live streaming. Without making any promise on when, it would not be unexpected for at some point live streaming to come back into the core. It's just a little tricky though, because you do need to have extra servers to do the live streaming. It's not trivial. And that's why if it was easy, it probably would have been put in the core. But when things are high value and require extra complexity and extra hosting resources, those are really good candidates for a hosting company to have the resources to offer. So live streaming is a really good example of it. And it does require a lot more moving pieces. And it's a good candidate for something that's offered on a commercial basis. But other projects out there are working on it as well. Okay, I think, Felipe, stay with us because Tiago's going to talk. And I'm looking forward to Tiago's talk as well. And then maybe at the end, because we will be at the end of the summit, we will leave ourselves open for more questions and more interaction with the community. So
very good. Thank you, everyone.
All right, Tiago, feel free. I'm going to give you here a brief introduction. Wow, Tiago, you wrote like 10 words. There's more to it. So I want to welcome Tiago Jacobs. Like Felipe, I've known Tiago for many years. Tiago is the CEO of IMDT, which is surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, only about an hour's drive away from Encomp in Brazil. So whatever happened, the 2 companies that have been on the forefront of contributing to the BigBlueButton project over the last 10 years were literally like within a couple, I think 100 kilometers from each other, probably less. So Tiago Jacobs is the CEO of IMDT since 2004. He's been a core committer of the BigBlueButton project since 2011. And I just want to say that I've had the pleasure of working with Tiago over the years. One of the benefits of being involved in an open source project is you get to work with really smart people like Felipe and Tiago. And it's my pleasure to let Tiago share how he has been involved in the BigBlueButton project over the years and the work at IMDT. Over to you, Tiago.
Thank you, Fred. Well, first, thank you, Felipe. As Fred said, your contributions and Encomp and since the beginning was no words for that. Thank you very much. And my story is a little before BigBlueButton, because my goal here is to talk to maybe someone that think it's impossible or too difficult to start contributing to open source. So I hope that it's not boring, but let's try that. If I can touch 1 or 2 people to start contributing, this presentation already did it. So welcome everyone. Thanks for being here, and let's start. Okay, when we founded IMDT, I founded it with Diogo, Michele, that are my brother and my sister, and we had no idea of what kind of problem we was going to solve. We just wanted to work with technology. It was 2004. We was in Campo Bom, a small city. As Fred said, it's close to Porto Alegre, but really different. Porto Alegre is the downtown of the state, and we are like in a small place. So yeah, we just wanted to be working with technology, and we learned it by doing. So it's different from another companies that start with a great idea or something like that. We just wanted to do something. So we got good customers. They had not a lot of choices, so well, why not? And it always started with a small project, like a website, and then we was getting bigger and bigger challenges, like websites, e-commerces, CRM, data warehouse, and can you do it? Yes, why not? Let's do. And 2004, 2005, 2006, no project was like difficult enough. So yeah, let's do it. We became self-confident. So we started to believe that everything is possible. And we created a small marketing campaign that in every email we were sending this sentence: impossible is just a force inviting you to achieve. So we're basically saying that nothing is impossible. And one day in 2006, a customer called me and said, we need a web conferencing software. Can you do it? And well, web conference, no way. I explained to him that it was something for big companies. I will not mention, but there was one big company with web conferencing software at that time. And I explained that we didn't have enough experience in this kind of technology. And I remember that this customer replied to me, well, but according with your email signature, impossible is just a force inviting you to achieve. You're not feeling invited? What's happening? So yeah, I had no choice. I had to accept the project. We got something that worked, but as said, we had no idea of exactly what we was doing. So I basically created a Java applet that was communicating over a local network with a native application, capturing video and audio from the devices. And we got an incredible 2 frames per second. Well, the pros is that it worked. And the cons is that we had no compression, no encoding. It was really hard to maintain. It worked with specific devices, so it required a really specific set of conditions to work. And it required a software installation because the capturing was being done by the local application. Okay, the customer really appreciated that and asked, can we improve it? But I've basically created my own protocol to transfer video and audio in a way that it could be played in the other side. And I had no idea how to improve. That was the best. I was, well, should we zip the stream? What should we do? I don't know. So walking alone in this path, I could go up to a certain point, and I was in my limit. But the customer was sure that we could improve, and giving up was not an option at that moment. They already invested money, they already committed with the next version, and we had to do something. And well, myself and my brothers started to look for existing libraries or components, and finally, we discovered that Flash could be an option. The same Flash that we was creating animated websites. At that time, it was very popular. So, well, we can have a system that can be animated too. And it had the media stuff, so capturing devices and things built in. So one problem that we found was that the part that would solve our problems, that was the media platform, was a paid component, Flash player, Flash media server. And more than that, there was a very limited information about it. It was hard to learn Flash media server at that moment. So I found Redfight. And it was a free server with free documentation, and we had the ability to understand how it works by looking into its source code. It was like a miracle. That's why the sound effect. And this is how I bumped into the open source. So it was by this requirement to improve the software. It took only 3 months to get amazing results. So we could replace all that stuff we made by Flash plus Redfight. And we simplified the client-side source code from CPP that was used in the library and the local application and the Java applet to ActionScript. That was much simpler, no memory problems, just worked. No software installation. It was multi-platform, better voice quality and better video quality, 30 FPS, much more than we had. And to not mention the usage of bandwidth that was much smaller. So anyone can contribute. When I started with Redfight, I started making questions. And then with that questions, I learned it. And then I started sharing what I learned. I started to report issues, to propose solutions, and to send contributions. And after a while, learning a lot, hard work, late nights, and I became a core committer of Redfight. It was a great recognition. Being a core committer of Redfight, I improved many parts of Redfight. RTMP client, I remember working in that because I created a cluster where you could have, because at that time, high-speed internet was not available, so we had a local server inside the company, a remote server in a data center, and we wanted that the local meetings happening inside the company was happening in one server, and the remote meetings in another. So I invested a lot of time in the RTMP client. So if 2 people was inside the company, the meeting would happen inside the local server. When 1 people joined it in the cloud, at that time it was not using the name cloud, but in the data center, Redfight started a connection and created the fake presence. So it was publishing the media. So we needed to emulate a client from the server. So that's why I invested lots of time in RTMP client. The Play engine that was used basically to send packets from one side to the other, but as internet quality was really bad at that time, we had to invest a lot of time in like, okay, should I send this packet or discard? Because Redfight was receiving packets and had the mission to distribute it to all the viewers. And at some point, if the viewer was not receiving fast enough, you need to discard the packets. So I invested lots of time in this. The RTMPS, that was basically HTTPS, the RTMPT around TLS. FLV writer, I invested time in that to try to improve the sync of audio and video in the FLV recordings. And as I mentioned, the packet dropping stuff. And after touching all parts of Redfight, I finally implemented the support to H.264. It was a great achievement. And I remember the day that it worked. It was like, oh, I did it. Pretty nice. So yeah, it changed the way that we was working, because before we was coding satisfied with, well, it works. And after we started to contribute and to work with Redfight and with the open source, it was always looking the best way to code to be approved. Because if we write a bad code, we would send the contribution and they would say, no, we don't want it. And this was a great step forward for us. Coding to ourselves, And after we was learning the do and the don'ts from experts. So imagine I was sending contributions and there was a really smart guy in the other side telling me, no, don't do it, or do it in this way, and for free. It was really, really nice. Another thing is we was always surprised by customer issues, like, my computer is not working with the software or something like that. And after using open source, the community is much bigger, and we was sharing the experiences with the community. Sometimes our customer was having the problem, sometimes other one was having the problem. So it really helped a lot, and it's still helping. Before, it was hard to get help because, well, that code was basically myself, Diogo, Michelle. We understood it, but it was hard to get someone extra helping us. And after working with the open source, new team members get ready in short time because of the documentation, the code quality, and all the other aspects that I already mentioned. So being a Redfight committer opened multiple doors to IMDT. We could work in amazing projects, real-time games, relationship platforms, churches, online job interviews. It was really new at that time, and it was really nice to work in projects like that. But the greatest recognition of working with Redfight was to be invited to join the BigBlueButton team. In 2011, Fred Dixon invited me to join the BigBlueButton team as a core committer. In these early days, I basically helped with Redfight improvements. I remember many messages like, we got an out of memory, can you help us? Sometimes I could help, sometimes I was just learning from Richard. Yeah, that was a great experience. I've contributed with the lock settings module also by myself at that time. And after a while, we started to contribute as a company by having developers working, improving BigBlueButton. Because this was not our only project. We have other customers, big customers too. So that was like, I could not focus myself on improving it, but I still wanted to be closer to the project and continue contributing. So I started with some people working in the project, and these contributions resulted in a partnership between IMDT and Blindside Networks, and this allowed us to continue investing time and to have team focused in the product. And we are now trusted by companies and governments around the world to customize and maintain their private BigBlueButton clouds. So we don't offer like a platform or something that you can use. There are another great products like Felipe was showing, and other commercial products that are probably coming. We hope so. And we're basically working with custom development and supporting the private clouds. So the main goal of this presentation is this kind of repeating. I wrote a word for that. Okay, but putting all of this in perspective, I can see a virtuous cycle. By learning, we collaborated. By collaborating, we obtained recognition. With this recognition, we got more business opportunities. And with these opportunities, we learn more. It's a great infinite loop. So we are always learning, contributing, getting more recognition, more business opportunities, and anyone can be doing the same. You can start opening an issue today and tomorrow validating this issue, and who knows, coding and contributing and doing commercial products on top of BigBlueButton. So it's open to everyone. It's very inclusive. Before I open to questions, I've prepared some answers because I'm not sure if anyone is going to make a question. So yeah, what's next? There is a much bigger roadmap for the product that Fred exposed very well. And this is my personal roadmap, a small one. The things that I want to invest some time in the upcoming months. I want to make it easier for others to contribute and easier for us to validate the contributions. So I'm constantly working in a simplified development environment. Anton showed part of this work in his presentation, where he said that the most convenient way of coding BigBlueButton is using the BBB Docker dev that I created and published. And it was really nice to see him talking it. And we plan to improve it much more. So we are going to updating documentations every time we get a simplified version, and you can always learn from there. Continuous integration. As much contributions we start to receive in the project, who is the one that is contributing and wants to make sure that it didn't break at anything, and we want to make sure. So having a continuous integration is something that is really important to the project, and also help as much as I can with performance, scalability, and modularity. And so what's your, I'm graduated in engineering, and we had some business classes, and the teachers was always saying, you need a purpose, you need a reason to be here. And I was always, oh my God, what's our purpose? What are we doing? And so what's our purpose? Why we are here? A nice team, having fun by coding all day long. That's all. We just want to improve, to contribute, and to help others. Feel free to ask any questions. Thank you for watching. That's all.
Diego, thank you for that. And thank you for just sharing the story of what, oh, please keep sharing your webcam. And Felipe, if you could come back, share your webcam as well. Just echoing the value that you get out of contributing to others. And I mean, Diego, you told it from a personal point of view for Red 5. I can just share, I can remember watching your contributions to Red 5 in the early days. We were using Red 5 and we were like, man, what are we going to do if we had a problem? And here's this guy named Diego that's building a web conferencing system. Maybe he would like to work with us instead of building his own system. And, you know, as inviting, as welcoming as you found us, we found you and Felipe equally as welcoming. It was sharing of ethos in terms of how we thought we could build successful projects and companies around working together rather than separately. And there's no bigger evidence of that being the right choice than where the companies are today. So this is actually the last session, but there will be more conferences for BigBlueButton for sure. This one was actually, took quite a lot of work to pull together, but man, we got back so much more for the effort. I invite anybody here who would like to ask Felipe or Diego a question to ask it. We'll do the formal recording for like another 2 minutes, and then we'll probably just open it up and hang around if anyone else has any questions. And actually, let's do this. Let me, since we're getting close to the end of our time, stay around, please. But Felipe, Diego, I want to formally thank you for all the contributions you've done over the years and the great presentation to just sort of summarize and hopefully inspire other commercial companies to contribute to BigBlueButton. There's so much more ahead, and if you want to have, you know, a really good purpose in life, you know, pick a project that is going to be contributing to and improving the world. And I don't know that this was the original plan in the beginning, but it's how it turned out, and it's a very satisfying feeling. So thank you, both Felipe and Diego.